So let's talk a little bit about pollination and what that means and how to make sure that your trees are going to get sufficient pollination. So there are different pollinator requirements for each individual tree species. So if you're going to plan to plant on your property, make sure to go research the specific varieties that you're interested in planting. So I'm going to use the chestnut as an example. The chestnut needs at least one to be able to pollinate. And it can be of the same variety, so it can be 2 Dunstan chestnuts. That being said, we do recommend that you plant with at least 3, because as the tree starts to mature, it's going to produce a little bit more flower every single year. And if you only have 2 and you have 1 or 2 flower pestules, they're just not going to be pollinating that much. You know, the pollinator bugs and birds just aren't going to do much cross-pollination. And as time goes on, more and more flowers are going to grow, and you'll have better flower production and eventually better nut production with that. But if you have 3 chestnuts or 5 chestnuts or even 10 chestnuts, those few flowers are going to cross-pollinate each other nicely. Not to mention, you'll also get genetic cross-pollination from many instead of just 2. So other types of tree species, like apple, for instance, some tree species are self-pollinating, some are self-fertile, which means that you don't need a pollinator. Some need a different variety to be able to pollinate. So like I said, an apple, for instance, is different than the Dunstan chestnut, which can be planted with multiple Dunstan chestnuts. Some apple varieties require a different apple variety to be able to cross-pollinate. You can't plant a Arkansas black with an Arkansas black and then it cross-pollinates. You need to have a different apple variety. And so another thing to think about is, you know, once you've nailed down your pollinators and you've figured out what will be sufficient to have cross-pollination for the fruit and nuts that you've planted, you may think about the health of the pollination in your local ecosystem in general. And the way that you can do that is by planting actual pollinator species. Basswood may be an example, or ornamental trees that have lots of flowers. They're going to attract more bugs, they're going to attract bees, they're going to help to grow your ecosystem into a healthier place, and that way you're going to have more pollination for the fruit and nut trees that you've planted as well. So it's a question of first making sure that you have what you need for pollination, and then going on and making your local ecosystem healthy in pollination. And that's the way you're going to have the best fruit and nut production.